There we go. What's up, guys? Tech Tony here, as usual, playing with this new equipment, still trying to figure this out. So this, instead of being live today, this is actually a pre-recorded show as well as a pre-recorded podcast for us to be using. Or at least I hope I could turn this to a podcast. I'm gonna find out what I can and can't do with this program. But as you see, this is my first guest with this new technology that I'm using. This is Greg, and Greg's not only just a guest. He's also one of my clients I've got a chance to consult with, help during this tax season. He's a CPA, hence why I said tax season, and continuing on throughout the year with his company. But today's podcast will be pretty cool because he's primarily going to be talking to me, and I have a few questions for Greg too because he's doing some stuff for his practice. Is it CPA college practice?
It is absolutely.
Okay, for his practice, and back and forth having a good conversation. But Greg, I want you to introduce yourself, tell people about you, and where you at, where they can find you.
Sure, yeah, no problem. Well, about me, I'm just your average CPA. I do tax and accounting work for everybody, and people can find us online thanks to you.
Right? Yeah, you're welcome. That's right, huh? People can find you online.
Many places.
What's your website? Let everyone know in case someone in the Jacksonville area is listening to this.
Absolutely. Tax Pro FF, like fastfurious.com.
Nice. And if I'm correct, it's a husband wife deal, correct? In your firm?
It
practice?
is. Yep. We are.
Right, there she is. She just walked by the way.
She's busy.
Good stuff. Well, I'm glad you're busy. You're probably glad that this tax season is pretty much over. You have a little bit of time.
Yeah, I was towards the end. I was it's like just such an experience every year. You think that you get used to it after years of doing something like that, but it actually, I think it gets harder with every year as I get older. Just I want it to be over, and then I'm like, well, I don't know how to do anything else. It's this or flipping burgers, so I might as well just stick to this.
True here. I was a private military contractor, and so now for me, it's like I'm too old to get shot at, so I'm just going to keep doing digital marketing. I got nothing else to do. My other option is flipping burgers.
Yeah. Exactly. That's amazing, though. Yeah.
It is. It's a fun little thing I can fill in people on later on. But Greg has some questions for me. He has a little chit chat about some digital marketing, which I am excited. I have no idea what the questions are. I just know he has them. So we'll see what curveballs he has. Greg, take the show from here, man. It's all you.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to have me on your show, and I appreciate it. And I do feel like every time we chat, we always have great banter. Everything flows really nicely. So I wanted to just take this opportunity to basically speak to you and be able to get this information out to our viewers to basically inform people as to what they should be doing, when they're getting into business. And as a CPA, and obviously we're working for small businesses. We work with all sorts of small businesses from various walks of life, from different industry, and it's very common for us to look at their how they're operating and what they're doing, and many a time we'll just see like a blank space where the advertisement expense goes, or it's a very small amount of spending going on. Maybe they tried it out, they threw in like a couple $100 into Facebook and nothing came out of it, and they quickly withdrew and kind of just like took off running into the dark and just got very scared of that whole thing. So
it's true.
Part of what we do is actually we try to help people succeed and grow their business and be able to flourish and profit so that they can pay their taxes. Now, so obviously that's something that's very complicated to do because, you're a Google specialist, right? You basically have in-depth knowledge, and you're certified with Google. You've probably been working for many years in Google. The Google sphere, correct?
I've been doing this for about more than 5 years, actually, now that I think about it.
Well, that's awesome, man. And when I ran across your website, that's one of the first things that stuck out. You are kind of like a big deal, and it shows. You're definitely, and I think that's what's listed on your site. It says that I'm kind of a big deal, and I love that. I thought that was like some really great marketing. And so, anyway, we know that you know your stuff, Tony. We know that you're out there helping people grow their business. Now, what I'd like for you to tell our listeners is what would you say is the number one biggest mistake that you see people do when they get into business and they've come to you, they've tried, like me, right? Like I've tried all these different things, I've tried different platforms and have worked with people, and nothing really kind of did much for me.
Mhm.
So what would you say is like the number one biggest mistake that you see people make when they're starting out with their advertising campaigns?
For small businesses, or any business on that anyone that goes into business, the number one mistake I always see, and the first thing that I normally look at is their Google My Business profile, aka Google Maps. Does the company show up when you Google their name? Because you'd be surprised how many people don't show up for their business name. And does the company show up when searches relevant to their products, goods, or services are entered into Google Maps? That I actually give a little bit of a 10-minute speech about that today, this morning at my chamber meeting. That is probably the most valuable and highly unused source of lead generation for any company out there. And the reason I say that is because the mass majority, besides what my clients pay me for consulting and managing it, that's all 100% free organic traffic. It's free money that can walk in the front door or call your business. And businesses don't leverage it at all. They might have it if they're really lucky and really good. They might have the login for it, but they don't go in and they look at it. It may have been created once upon a time. Someone's wife, brother's, girlfriend's daughter did it, and then they never look at it again. And then they're just concentrating on Facebook. Too many businesses use Facebook like Google, and they have to remember Facebook's not a search engine. It's an entertainment platform. It's a social platform. Google is where people, look for stuff. 60% of searches done on Google are small business related. And that's a huge number when you look at the amount of possibilities. Even in a small town like me or a bigger city like you in Jacksonville, it's a huge amount of people looking for products, goods, and services that are small business related. And the way you show up on those is, yes, you can pay for ads. And then that's a great way to do it too. But if you're on a budget, especially when you're a new business just starting out, Google Maps, which is a free platform, can start that process on how people are looking for you, and then get free traffic into the front door into your business. Especially if especially if you depend on physical foot traffic into your business. It's someone to come in and actually buy something. So Google My Business for every company is sorely underused.
Huh. Isn't that something now? So I bet you see that all the time. Like people will hire you, and the first thing that it's like, boom, your Google My Business is completely out of whack. It needs fixing.
Mm-hmm. I just had a company today that I was working with, that they hired me on today, and I looked at their GMB, and they had one, but it was unverified. So Google will try to make one for you, and they're pretty good at it. They'll get most of the information right, but Google's like, how I explain it, Google's like a 7-year-old kid with a hammer. They know what the hammer's for, and they'll use the hammer properly. But every once in a while, you got to keep your eye on them, and they're going to take it to a wall if you don't. And I'm like, oh, nope, nah.
This way.
I'm a CPA, Google. I'm not a flower shop. Stop ranking me for flower shops. Come back here, hit the hammer on the head. That's the best way to describe Google. It's a kid with a hammer, it's a 7-year-old with a hammer. He knows what he's doing, but then everyone will run off with it somewhere else. And so it's for small. I had so when they didn't have one, we went into it and it still recorded their insights. And they showed up. Then they live in a very big area where this particular business is at, and they were showing up 8,000 times a month in searches. Thank goodness they're still relevant. And a marketer can't get you 100% traffic. No one can, but I can at least, with the using Google My Business properly, increase the amount of leads coming in 5, 10, 15%. And I may not know math too well, Greg, but like 10% of 8,000, what, 800?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you got that. No,
so it's like you can bring in more business by just maintaining it, and the maintenance on it. For most companies, they don't have to hire me to maintain their GMB. For most companies, it's just a matter of once a week looking at it and posting to it, or or putting a picture up on there, things like that. And does wonders for
It
companies.
does wonders for companies. And I'll tell you what, even if it didn't do wonders for companies, let's say it did nothing for you, right? Like traffic wise. Whenever I go on Google and I'm searching for stuff and I'll have a listing and that's all the Google My Business, right?
Hmm.
And people pop up. So if I'm looking for whatever business and whatever businesses come up that are all relevant, right? And they all have their GMB profile up there. And then you'll run across one that's completely like empty. There's no reviews. It hasn't been optimized. There's no pictures. It's just like a blank everything. That discourages me from going, even looking, even touching it right off the bat.
Hmm.
So, of course, it doesn't make sense not to do this
Yeah.
at all.
Business. Think about like when you travel. I travel a lot. I just had a road trip a couple weeks ago. When I go somewhere, I'm not searching Facebook for a hotel or restaurant to eat. I'm Googling stuff. What's close to me? What's around me? And
That's a great point.
that listing, you have to show up, and you have to be relevant. And if you don't have, and it's not like a fact if you don't have good reviews, is if it doesn't look like it's active, they don't have pictures or whatnot. I'm not going to go there. We have a local restaurant that I'm working with currently rebuilding their entire online persona. First thing I did was work on their GMB because I could get that done fastest to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
In a 4-month period, I increased his bottom line by 35%, and his website's not even live yet.
That's amazing, man. Now you're giving away too many secrets, man.
Oh,
You gotta leave something out for
yeah, right. Free advice.
some free advice. Well, that's great. Listen, and I think that's one of your actual services, right? Don't you say I'll update your GMB for free because it just kind of like bothers you, right? Like come on, it's like good money. Why would you not take it? And it bothers me too.
I
When
used to do it for free. My CPA and lawyer put an end to that
he's like, stop.
because
This is not what we're doing now.
I will look at, and here's the thing,
Bad.
like I'll look at
Bad.
it. I know, right? Well, yeah, I know. I'm running a business, not a nonprofit. I'm told. Like
That's
we
right.
just
That's
had a
right.
meeting like 20 minutes ago
That's right.
for this. He's like, "You're not giving stuff away for free."
He's
But
right.
I will. Like if a business doesn't have one, I'll look at it. I'll help you. I'll give you some tips and tricks. But here's the thing: if they don't implement it, everything I've told you is useless.
It's useless. Yep.
It's like when you tell your clients stop spending money on stupid stuff, and they keep
do it
spending money on
anyway.
stupid
Yep.
stuff.
Yep.
I'm sure you see that all the time.
Oh
Like, what
yeah.
are you
No.
doing?
Tons of it. Mountains. Like that. But that's the thing. When they come in, we try to coach them too. That's one of the first things that because we do holistic accounting, and we not to put my services in here, but we do look
You're
at
fine.
advertising because we want to make sure that they're getting the most out of us as account. That's what we offer because we're also business. We're also small business. We're going through the same trials and tribulations and trying to succeed just like the next person. So we went through it with somebody, and at one point or another, we just stumbled upon it. I was like, okay, this really works. I mean, I completed I think I got a standing ovation from you, right?
Mhm.
When you saw my Google My Business when we started working together, I think you were floored because I was probably one of the very few businesses that you saw I mean, if there was any little button that could be done, I had it done, and
Yeah,
I spent like 2 weeks optimizing it. It's not hard. It's like if I can do it, anybody can do it. It's just
that's right.
that straightforward. But yeah, so like I try to point to people and I'll point it out. I'm like, your Google My Business is not optimized. Go get a blueprint. Go do something. Go hire someone. Get it done. Don't just sit there and let it rot away because you're losing traffic. And then you come around complaining you're not making enough money.
And like I'm for hire, but for it to help small business out, I have a complete YouTube series on the Google My Business that you can just follow along and do it yourself.
Right.
That type of situation. So not because that's how important that list is. Just so sorely underused that I've gotten businesses that their competition is Walmart, Sam's Club, all the big boys, and I've gotten them to rank with them with not even close to the budget. It's just being smart on the tactics and using and implementing it. Another thing that businesses don't do is the longevity of Google, the longevity of marketing and content creation, which what you're doing, you're making YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Just because you're using GMB and just because you're making content doesn't mean people are coming breaking down your door. That's not how Google works. Google works on trust. And part of that trust is content creation, showing people, hey, I am the specialist in my area. Here are my, like I pitched in my YouTube videos, my channel, things like that. Google sees that. And when it sees that's like, oh, Greg's talking a lot about taxes. They're talking about this, they're talking about that. I'm going to start ranking for them because people watch his stuff. They go to his website. Google sees people are calling you, and now it's going to start producing those leads for you. None of that happens overnight. Very rarely does that ever happen, where someone goes viral. But businesses, a lot of my clients, I have a client here who was making content on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube for like solid 4 months, and he was good and business was great. And then he stopped, and then business tanked. And he was like, Tony, I'm not getting leads. I'm going to have to fire you, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, when was the last time you made a video?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, it's been about 3 months.
Huh.
Like me running ads for Google, I'm pretty good at it. And I could get ads running. I can get traffic running to a business about 3 months time, give or take. But that's only 60% of the problem. The rest of it, I'm not going to go down to Jacksonville, Florida, and chase you around, Greg, with a camera in front of your face. You got to do that stuff yourself. So content creation is another sorely underused area with businesses. Like, you've got to sit down. You've got to make that content. It's one of the things that I can't do for you.
That's an excellent point. That's an excellent point. And that's at the end of the day, you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make it drink.
Exactly.
We see that a lot, honestly, because again, we try to help people in many different facets, and at the very least we can do is kind of just coach them and say, you got to pay more attention to this. I don't know what you got to do there, but you definitely got to do it. Can you think of, Tony, can you think of any businesses that really wouldn't benefit from Google My Business, or do you think every business can, any industry?
Every business can benefit from Google, but it's the amount that they need. For example, one of my clients I consult with is a office suite building. They have a building that's offices, virtual offices, and shared workspaces. Google is not going to be the best platform they're going to go to first, because it's going to take a very long time to teach Google that they have nothing to do with real estate. They're simply office rentals and virtual offices. So the first 3 to 4 months of working with them, they were getting bad leads, and it was just like, hey, we got to be patient, work this through. However, Instagram and Facebook worked great for them because they can make a picture, make a direct post with the correct description and linkage, and then Instagram was instantly showing them to the right people that were actually either A, interested in following this sort of trend, or B, needed this type of service in their life. And then eventually Google did catch up to it, type of situation. Now, service-based industries like your plumbers, your electricians, your HVACs, it's Google all day. That is your primary source. So to answer your question, yes, every business will benefit from Google, but it's a discussion that you're going to have a serious discussion with your marketer on where to first focus your efforts at.
Great. I like that you're thinking that way. I was just about to bring in Twitter, just to throw you a curveball and say, well, what the heck happened to Twitter, and is it good for anyone?
Twitter is actually the last platform that I'm now migrating myself over to. Really? And I'm working with a guy that works on Twitter, and he'll eventually be on my podcast. When I read his stuff, Twitter's a very aggressive game in the sense that if you're going to be in Twitter, you need to be ready to start tweeting 11 times an hour.
Really?
Yes. Like, he's like, if you're going to enter Twitter, I was reading one of his blogs about it because I'm learning about Twitter marketing right now. I'm in Twitter at High Tech Tony, HITECTONY. It's 11 times you're tweeting, and that does not include engagement, which means you're like, if you make a tweet, someone tweets back to you and engaging, that doesn't count as one of your 11. It's 11 fresh tweets in an hour. And I was like, golly, and he does it. And he has grown his business online. A lot of people have. So it's where you need to focus your efforts. Brewery clients, I've consulted with a lot of breweries. I have one here in Dothan, Alabama, that he's a little hard-headed, but he gets the hint that they're one of the industries that I cannot advertise alcohol on Google. You can't do it on Google, you can't do it on Facebook, can't do it on Instagram. Well, Instagram has a weird rule where you can have the alcohol in your hand, but you cannot display the act of drinking the alcohol. So his main focus, however, is this is what I do to make the beer. This is our ingredients. This is what the beer is. This is my story. He can actually leverage all the platforms, but he really can't use Google. So the areas we've used Google Ads is to push his events. So when someone types in searches things to do in Dothan, family events in Dothan, that has nothing to do with alcohol. And we wanted his events to show up, especially his free concerts, so that people would see that, click on the ad, register, or go to his brewery, and then buy the beer there.
Wow, that's fascinating, man. But Twitter is more. I always thought Twitter was like a political thing. Like if you're in politics, that's a great platform. Art, like maybe something along those lines.
President Trump won the election with Twitter. Like him or hate him, it is what it is.
Yeah.
All platforms have a love-hate relationship with politics right now, but for politics, it's a strong platform. I have a Twitter for work, and then I have a personal Twitter, which is I call it a shadow account because you wouldn't know it was me. It's a different picture of a guy and everything, because that way I can be on Twitter and not worry about people attacking my company type of situation. So I do follow like a lot of independent news reporters and whatnot on there to get my information. That's what I use Twitter for, is for information. Google will tweet on Twitter what they're doing before they tell the rest of us in the formal email what type of surprises they're going to be pulling down the road. Twitter, it may not be the first place for you to go, but for some business, it's a platform that they will eventually need to be on.
Interesting. I started a Twitter account many years ago. I just, I think back in must have been 2011 or something like that, and I just kind of gave up on it. Never did anything with it. It's still around.
True. Here, I'm starting to go back into it. I've been back into it for the last 4 months.
Nice. Well, let us know how it goes. I'd be curious to find out if it's actually something that's worthwhile of implementing for the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome, dude. So that's great. So all right, we talked about Twitter, Instagram. These are all different platforms. You're obviously getting the most out of the system without really having to shell out any money, right? This is all basically.
Yes.
Yes. Let's talk a little bit about that person or business that's ready to go for the next step, and now they've done all their optimizing, and they're here, they're there, they're on all these different platforms. Awesome. They're posting. What would be the next best step in terms of paid advertisement for them to go for? And that could be so many avenues, right? That could be Yelp. That could be like, if you can place your money.
Stay away from Yelp.
Stay away from Yelp.
Unless you're on the West Coast, like in California or Los Angeles, don't use Yelp. Yelp is the demon of everything. Yes, they are a horrible company. Now, when it comes to SEO building, you will have to have a Yelp listing. But man, once they find out about your business, they have call farms and they are terrible. But unless you're in California or Los Angeles area, that's where Yelp thrives. But the rest of America uses Google. But to answer your question, where should their efforts be? Once again, I want to default to my previous answer. It depends. My e-com stores that I haven't owned, I currently own 2. Facebook is my primary form of lead generation, and Google is my backup for retargeting for them. However, for Pathfinder and digital marketing, I do run my own personal ads. Google is my primary focus of energy, and then I back everything up with Facebook ads as well. I do actually have a Pinterest for Pathfinder. It's worked. I haven't put any money behind it, but it's drawn traffic to me, and it's gotten me a couple small job leads. So, yeah, that's what I said. Interesting. I got turned on to Pinterest by another SEO buddy of mine. He's like, "You gotta do Pinterest, man. You gotta do Pinterest." And I finally was like, "Okay, fine, I'll do Pinterest," and it worked. Wow. The cool thing about this, once a business has established an online presence using Facebook, using Google, using YouTube, using the primary core platforms, then we spread out to everything else: the Twitter, the Pinterest, the TikToks, the Instagram. Because what's cool about that is, and you'll see this kind of trend, your followers on Pinterest are not the same people, or more likely are not the same people that are following you on YouTube. So you could recycle your content, and therefore you're not like struggling like a new business would be in content creation. You've got the content, now you just start reusing it. And chances are whatever you put out is still valid. So I know in your industry and my industry, stuff's always changing. Something I tell you now, 3 months later down the road may not be valid anymore. So I'm always having to make new content. So I'm constantly trend chasing. But a lot of businesses, they can just recycle their content into other platforms. And now they're just creating this flywheel effect of where they're just hitting people in different spots. And that eventually draws in the crowd and draws in the attention to their business, which leads to sales event down the road.
Wow. So, but Google would still be the gorilla in the room. You know, if I have a limited budget and I want to put something into pay-per-click, and I have all these different options. I have, like I said, Yelp, maybe Home Advisor if I'm into contracting, right? Or Google, and then there's all these other various avenues that anyone can take. You'd still always kind of defer to Google.
Yeah, Google has a flurry of paid features for your business. However, you got to make content if you want to use them all. There are 2 types of Google ads that you can't use. And as a marketer, like when I start working with clients, it's a non-negotiable. You will be making content when you work with Pathfinder Digital Marketing, because if you don't make content, I can't run YouTube ads. And YouTube are good for brand awareness, and in some situations they're good for remarketing. I can't run display ads, which are they're sometimes confused for banner ads. There's those ads that if you showed interest in a topic or if you showed interest in an item, that item chases you around. If you play apps on your phone and say Candy Crush, watch this video for a free spin, that's a Google ad. There's an 8% chance that ad came from Google. So if you're not making content, you can't use that. And then if you're not making content, if you're a local business that 100% requires people to come into your facility and buy something from you, like an ice cream shop, there's local call to action ads, which require a video. Already there, if there's 3 forms of ads that you can't use. And so as a marketer, I can't properly work with a company or justify my price, for example, if they're not creating content. So now those are 3 forms of paid ads that are relatively cheap. YouTube alone just put a stat out. I can't remember it off the top of my head. It's on my Facebook channel, where the amount of people without paid advertising, the amount of people YouTube reaches is more than all the TV network providers combined.
That's amazing.
And people dump thousands and hundreds into thousands of dollars into TV ads, which I have no idea why they do that.
Yeah.
And when you could just make a YouTube channel and make content, like Greg, you're almost close to that, over 100,000 views.
Really?
Yeah.
On
your channel.
That's because I put my cat and my wife up on YouTube.
Yeah. The cat's way better to look at than you.
You got to just make a YouTube and put cat something, and it'll take off. That's honestly.
And it's a free platform.
Yeah.
You're getting views. You're getting people that watch your stuff. Like I post my YouTube videos and I'm seeing views come in and I'm like, who's watching this stuff? But it's funny, I have clients in 14 different countries. Wow. I never radio advertised, TV advertised, mailer, newspaper, billboard, nothing. I've only built my content. And every time I ask people, especially that are out of the United States, I ask them, how did you hear about me? They go, I found you on YouTube. I watched your videos and now I want to hire you.
Interesting. Wow.
And I spent 0 money on those ads. They just found my channel. Not a YouTube ad. They just found my channel. And so, once they're omni marketing is what we call it. There are multiple platforms. Yeah, the digital ads, what Google has to offer these businesses is amazing. But if they're not making content, I can't use it for everything that they need.
Right. That'll be doing them a disservice. If
you
were to take somebody on and they're not, they have a role to fill as well. Just like you have responsibilities, your client has responsibilities too for everything to work. Otherwise, they're kind of expecting you to perform at a certain level and you can't do it without them.
I have 2 clients that at this point, they at the beginning stage, they hired an intern. to come in and help the businesses with content creation solely. That was the girl's job. I had trained them. Find ideas, find topics, make the videos, edit the videos, start posting to the necessary platforms. It's gotten to the point, and this is the way it's supposed to happen. Your content is supposed to beat your ads. Last month, my TikTok videos brought me in more leads than my Google ads did.
Holy cow!
And TikTok's free.
Right.
And so these two of my clients that are actually solely leveraging this, I'm still running ads for them, that are leveraging this. They've hired both girls full time, and this girl's job is to come into work, log in the computer, open up every social media platform that they're on, engage with clients, and make content. And that's what brings in the money.
That brings me to a great question for you.
Go for it.
Who should make the content? Should the business owner make the content, or hire an intern? Like, who would get better results?
Well, right now, like you and me, since we're small businesses, it's going to be us. It's going to be you. It's going to be your wife. If the business can, an intern, college, high school intern, that you'd be like, hey, just find my trends. And I've trained these interns to do like this is what you're going to use. Like answerthepublic.com is a great search engine to find trends in your industry. It'll collect information on what people are asking about your business. So if you're a CPA, all the latest CPA questions, and then they can make blogs, they can make videos, they can make content on that. So yeah, hire, if it can, it should be people that work within the business, because it gives you that. If I see a YouTube video of a business and then I see that person in real life, it makes me feel more comfortable that, okay, I know this person. And it gives you something to talk about. It makes me feel better about walking into that business. So the interns are fine. If we can, a business owner or somebody in the office. And don't be afraid to, when you're making this content, to be loose in it. What I mean by that is, do you want professionally videoed stuff? Yes. Not all of it has to be like that. You just got to whip out your phone and make a video. And statistics show that videos that are unedited are more likely to convert versus a video that's scripted.
Of course, I could imagine, because then people have a connection with that.
Exactly.
With that video, it's a very different world.
Like this video, completely unscripted.
We're just going by the seat of our pants, aren't we?
We are.
Yeah. That's cool, man. That's really cool. Well, I'm glad that you're out there doing all this stuff, because somebody has to do something like this. And I know that it's a big, confusing world. And somebody like you helps us navigate it when it comes to marketing. And that's where I felt lost. I really did. And I just tried to put it all together. And some things worked right away for me, and some things just won't work. I need professional help.
Normally, when I talk to business, I'm like, oh, we tried Google Ads and it didn't work for us. One of two things that happened. Either A, they did it in-house and it did fail. Like you could watch YouTube videos about being a plumber and think you do your own plumbing. Yeah. Or they had a bad experience with another agency. And especially my clients that had a bad experience with another agency, like when I'm currently taking over, I'm like, hey, I know you got a bad taste in your mouth, but please do not put that judgment of this agency on me. Give me a fair chance to earn your business type of situation. Because just like in your industry, I'm sure, Greg, there are pretty crappy CPAs. And you're just like, oh my gosh, what did they do to your books?
What did they do? Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it is definitely like that. And great comparison. Yes, sir. Well, listen, I think that, part of the marketing schema is definitely trial and error. Mm-hmm. So for those that have tried it and have definitely, dabbled, like you said, and made a mess, or went to a marketer that made a mess for them and just didn't get them the results, what would you say is like a good budget, something that would typically work for somebody once it's under professional supervision like yourself? And I know that's a loaded question, because that could be, greatly varied for industry, for region, for everything, right? But can somebody get results, like decent results, with, I don't know, like $250 a month in PPC at Google, or don't even bother, kind of territory?
The other second most popular question I get is, well, what's this going to cost me besides my costs having me on the team?
Just the PPC, sir.
Yeah, for just PPC. That's what I'm referencing to. There is no magic number or budget for any business or industry in the world that will bring the results, that will just start bringing results. Any marketer that tells you otherwise is lying. Us digital marketers, we can't deal in absolutes. So what I mean by that is you'll hear someone saying, oh, if you spend $400, we'll increase your website traffic by 300% in the next 7 days. Those are lies. Google is very good at changing the rules, and then something will work, and then overnight it'll tank. And that's what keeps those marketers on our toes. I have worked with budgets as low as $100 a month, and it did work for these industries.
Really?
But in hindsight, I can't give you, I can't be like, oh, like $10 a month for any business. Sorry, $10 a day for any business will work just fine. You guys sit down as a business with a professional, either within your in-house or third-party marketing company that has a good reputation. Look at the reviews, talk to the previous clients, see if the marketing company you're hiring has an online presence themselves, and then have that discussion of what can I afford.
Right.
Because if you're fresh to the game and you haven't run ads before, the first 3 months is going to be your hardest months, because that's the most amount of time I work on optimizing your campaigns, understanding you as a client, getting those goals to work. So, because like Greg, you're kind of not really in that situation, but you had bad data.
Oh yeah.
And so luckily Ray and I, we had experience in the industry. We were able to get gears moving to work with you. That doesn't always happen. I always tell clients, hey, the first 3 months, especially if they're brand new to the game, the first 3 months is going to hurt. So it's not a matter of what do I have to spend, it's what can you afford. Because once we get it running, normally we want to increase it a little bit by a little bit, and then there's going to be a nice little level of, now I'm up here spending $1,000 per month, and I'm getting a 2-to-1 ratio on my money or whatever it may be for this particular industry. So there is no magic number for any business, and any marketer that tells you otherwise is straight up lying.
Gotcha. Good stuff to look out for, because I've definitely spoken to marketers in my search for marketers that basically flatball price and say $500, you're good to go, and that's all we need per month. But wait a minute, you haven't even heard what I do, or anything about me, and you're already giving me a price.
Yep, exactly.
And I think just it takes, like somebody's desperation to jump on something like that, because they might, in their mind, they might have thought, wow, I was ready to pay $750. But in the end, they're going to actually lose $500 trying to save, because they didn't sit down with the right person that takes time to figure out all these intricacies about them to position them to succeed with the PPC. And that's really key. Like when you and I got together, I was really impressed by the way you guys kind of looked at it from the entire picture. You set up landing pages, and these are things that nobody did for me in the past for PPC.
Mm-hmm.
They would just literally go in and they would create some campaign. I didn't get any communication. I just dumped money at it, and in the end, it like literally brought in zero traffic, and it really was a waste. Unfortunately, I've
Yeah.
definitely had those experiences before.
Because you and I had that conversation. I told us, like, hey, man, it's going to take a minimum of 10 days for me to get anything up and running. But because of the emergency of your situation, I think we had things up in 4 days.
You guys were pretty quick, and you're constantly on the ball. So like,
normally doesn't happen, but in your situation, it was an emergency.
yeah. No, that's why I like you guys, and I think that you're doing a great job, and you're always on top of it. So because ads evolve, you have to change with the times. So you're always in there. For those that don't know, that don't work with you, they should know that. Um, Tech Tony's always in there optimizing the ads, because Google goes through motions. Google is constantly looking for some sort of algorithm, or I don't know, in the matrix of the world, what it's doing, but you have to evolve
Changing.
with it, right?
Yes.
You have to change with it. So once a month is it, or something like that, I get updates, and then you run after me, make sure that I check out your work, because you want me to also be involved,
Yep.
no matter what I'm doing. So you're keeping me accountable.
Yes. Yeah, we don't rarely ever will do something without the approval, or at least the knowledge of the client, because nobody wants surprises.
Right. Good stuff, man. All right. Well, that's great. Listen, we've spent 40 minutes. I hope that this broadcast is going to help people from both sides of the table for my clients, because I'm definitely going to circulate this over. I'd like for people to know out there that there's a great team. Pathfinder is the name, Pathfinder
Digital marketing,
uh,
yes.
Digital Marketing LLC. That's Tech Tony's business. He runs it very smoothly. Very happy with everything that he's done so far, and the phone's ringing. So definitely doing something right. Um, at the end of the day, I get a lot of value from working with Tony. He's always giving me information on how to do things better or where I can do things differently to optimize my position in searches and to basically be a better marketer for my business.
Appreciate it, Greg.
Yes, sir. No, absolutely. Listen, it's good to have you on our team. That's all I can say.
Thank you. Thank you. And with that, we'll go ahead and wrap this up, folks. Again, as usual, I'm Tech Tony. You can find me at pretty much all my handles are Tech Tony, except for Twitter. It's a Hi Tech Tony. And Greg, tell everyone one more time where they can find you, man.
Oh, sure. We're at www.taxproff.com. Some people mispronounce it, go tax proof, and we're like, no, tax pro ff, like for fast and furious.
And what's your YouTube channel called?
Sure. So it's what is my YouTube channel called? I don't think I have one. I have some ID number because I haven't reached 100 viewers just yet.
No, you have a name. Now after this show, we're going to train you. I'm going to show what your name is on your YouTube channel.
Maybe it is something like R2D21232.
But,
I don't
but
know.
you can find Greg on YouTube as well if you guys want to learn something about them taxes.
Yeah, I bore people to death on my YouTube channel. So you don't want to come on my YouTube channel. It's boring. It's so boring. I get bored myself just looking at myself. It's awful.
Me too sometimes.
Oh, but you're in a way more interesting industry, man. Advertising is exciting. It's like, bringing people business. There's nothing more exciting, or it's kind of like when people start to see their marketing going, and the calls come in. It's like I can't describe. It's like being on a first date or something, and it brings a lot of happiness.
Nice.
It does. And that's one of the most pleasant feelings in the world. You bring that to people, as opposed to me. I'm like the Grinch. I'm bringing people hate.
I
like,
got
how much money do I owe, Greg? Like,
I got a letter from my CPA yesterday. I got to look over today. She's like, "Can you please explain these charges?" And I'm like, "Oh, great. What did I do?"
See, nobody likes us. No matter what nobody likes accountants. We're either auditing you or we're making you pay taxes. We're bringing numbers to light, saying, "Yeah, what'd you spend here, man?" And you're like, "Leave me alone. It's my business. I want to spend money whichever way I like. What do you care?"
I got to figure this out. All right, man. Until next week, guys. Happy marketing. Bye.
All right, brother. Talk to you later. Be easy.